Let's dive into Nightingale and take a look at their new Realms Rebuilt update from September 12th. And I gotta say, I'm actually really enjoying the changes that they've made so far. Let's dive into it. What's up everybody, my name is Whack and thank you for joining me for this video. Now I do need to thank Inflection Studios for sponsoring this video. However, just because they are sponsoring the video, that is not going to affect my opinions on the game. I'm going to give it to you straight right here, right now. For those of you that may not be familiar with Nightingale, it is an open world PvE survival crafter game played solo or cooperatively with friends. Build, craft, fight, and explore as you venture through mystical portals into a variety of amazing and fantastical realms. You are stranded beyond our world, cut off by the collapse of the arcane portal network. This catastrophe has left you fighting to survive in a labyrinth of beautiful and dangerous Fey realms. Your goal is to become a skilled realm walker and navigate the web of trans-dimensional portals. Only then can you discover the way to the magical city of Nightingale, the last known bastion of humanity. One thing that always delivers with Nightingale is the visuals and the stunningly beautiful realms that you walk into. From the landscape to the skyscape, you'll always be blown away by what you're seeing on screen. It is definitely a fantastical experience for your eyeballs. Now there's a lot of changes that have come with this update. I'm not going to cover everything, but I will highlight what I feel like are the biggest changes from this update. So first and foremost, they have a new campaign, and I can already say that that new campaign feels really good. They totally removed the tutorial or changed the tutorial in the beginning of the game, getting you into the action and the actual gameplay a lot faster. I felt like the original tutorial was very slow, very hand-holdy, and rather awkward if I'm being completely honest, where the new one just kind of helps you along a little bit, and I feel like it fits the style of the game so much better. Realm Walkers will now explore several new handcrafted storied realms. So instead of having procedurally generated realms all the time, we have these handcrafted realms and they look really good. I also feel like they work a lot better. I felt like the realms that were procedurally generated would generate in some awkward ways prior to this. So the change to having them be the same is rather nice in my opinion. Yes, it means that the game is always the same every single time you start over, but that's not necessarily a bad thing in my opinion, because it means that it all works together cohesively. They have completely revamped Sites of Power dungeons, and I played through one of these already, and I'll show you some of that in this video. But it felt so much better. It was so well laid out and so much more immersive than the prior updates. So I really feel like they're headed in the right direction with what they're doing. There are 6 new bosses. I think this is really good because initially when I was playing, it felt like every time you did a Site of Power, you got to the end and you faced the same exact boss as the previous one. It may have had another mechanic or more health or whatever, some small change to that boss, but it felt very samey, where the new dungeon, and mind you, I've only played through the first Site of Power, felt very different. It felt like a unique experience, and I think that's important for any game, so I'm really liking the strategy and the way that Inflection Studios is looking at the future of Nightingale. Now, if you're not a fan of the handcrafted realms, there are still Untamed Realms, which are new and updated procedurally generated assisted realms. So they have a base plate and then they are assisted in procedural generation, so you can still enter realms that are quite different. There's a bunch of new weapons, a bunch of new spells, a bunch of new charms, a bunch of new minor cards, but I don't want to cover any of that in this video. That's all great additions. What I do want to focus on here is the way that they actually went through and changed progression. It is so much better now. You actually have a progression tab. You go in there and you unlock things. You know what your next step is and what you need to do in order to unlock that that next tier of item, and I feel like this is so much better than the way that they had it before, where it was like you were aimlessly wandering through the world trying to find the next thing to upgrade your kit. I think that giving players a clear direction of you need to go and find tier 2 essence to unlock this item, or tier 3 essence to unlock that item, is a very good move on the part of Inflection, because it gives players the ability to target what their next steps are and not feel like they're wasting time just looking through an expansive world trying to figure out, how do I get X thing unlocked? Now let's talk about combat. It is still very much the same as it was before. It's a first person using the melee or the ranged weapons. There is still a third person mode, but I don't feel like this is perfected yet, so I prefer playing it in first person. However, I think that the way that they changed progression, actually giving you some magic early on, makes the combat feel so much better from the start. Adding that one extra ability to have that one spell early on really made it feel like I had more options than just running in and clicking M1 the entire time. I then could back off and cast a spell. I didn't really worry about playing it in a way where I was blocking. I don't feel like this really is a game where that makes a whole lot of sense, but just having that one spell, being able to do something a little bit different, made the combat feel more immersive right from the start. Now, I've been playing in their offline mode the entire time I was filming, recording, and testing to bring you this video, and I've got to say it played really smooth. I didn't have any issues where I felt like loading times were too long, or that I felt like there was lag or anything of that nature. It felt really smooth, and I enjoyed my experience with the way the game played. And if you've followed Nightingale for any amount of time, you know that early on they didn't have an offline mode, and a lot of players took issue with that, so they have resolved that. Nightingale is still in early access. They have more content coming in the future, including a creative mode and additional biomes. But if you want to pick it up right now, there is a 40% discount for your purchase on Steam, so it's a great time to jump in and check it out. Now, the devs say that it feels like a whole new Nightingale experience, and I agree in some areas, but I also disagree in other areas. I agree that it feels new and fresh. I feel like the game runs a lot smoother, you move a lot faster, the combat is really smooth and interactive. However, my pain points still come down to some of the same pain points that I had before. There are a lot of different items in this game, and storage is very small. So you end up in a scenario where you've got so much stuff, and you're putting these little teeny tiny boxes around all over your base for a good bit of time. I feel like that progression should probably change some, where you're actually able to have a bit more storage right from the beginning. I also don't know that they need so many different items in the game, but I can't make a 100% prediction on whether I feel like that stuff is or isn't needed. But for me, it's always felt like there was a lot more in the game than what they needed to have. But again, this is an early access title, and I can definitely tell that they've taken a lot of feedback and applied it to what's in the game now. So I think the devs are on the right track and doing the right thing, and I'm very excited to see how they continue to progress with the development of Nightingale throughout the early access process. I'd like to thank all my YouTube members for your continued support. Y'all are absolute legends. Don't forget to whack the like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more content. And if you don't want to be out of whack, there's another video on the screen right now that you can click to support more of my content.